Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So glad you could join us. I'm Paul Dottino. He is Super Bowl champion Howard Cross. We'll be here for the nenext hour or so to talk about New York Giants football, maybe a couple of NFL topics if you like as well. And you can dial us up at 201-939-4513. Or you can find us on Twitter if you're a little bit shy at hashtag GiantsChat. And as a reminder, you can always find an archive of all of our New York Giants programs, our entire podcast network actually available on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. All right, folks, I know a lot of you stayed up to watch the Giants lose 24-3 to Seattle on Monday Night Football. Maybe you were at the game, maybe you weren't. Maybe you got up a little bit late today and got to work a little later than you wanted to. Mm-hmm. But we're here to at least talk about the game. And I will tell you something, Howard. A number of things came out of that game last night. A few good, mostly bad, though. Obviously, the Giants coming up short now, 1-3, going down to Miami on Sunday. Mm-hmm. But just to clarify from a news perspective, just so everybody knows this, injury-wise, Giants got banged up again. Bellinger aggravated his knee issue. Mm-hmm. We've got John Michael Schmitz at center with a shoulder injury now. Mm-hmm. I saw Bredesen was pretty beaten up after the game in the locker room. Who else was there, Pearson? There was another one? It was Schmitz. There was Bellinger, Bredesen. Bredesen actually I don't even think was listed on the official injury report. He's just aching. He's just battered and bruised. Yeah. So the offensive line, already with the hamstring to Andrew Thomas, that's kept him out the previous couple of weeks.
Was it Lemieux or Lewinsky? The guy?
Oh, it was Lemieux, the adductor muscle for Lemieux. Thank you, Howard, for adding that in there. It's a mass unit right now. and they've got a game on Sunday at Miami. What would you do to try to field 5 guys in that game?
Trying to field 5 guys? Pray. I mean, there's not a lot you can do. Like, first off, you're all pro left tackles out. I get that. Your right tackle has been suspect. He's been playing better, but he's still playing suspect. In the game last night, he was the better of all of them, and he still had bad plays. Right? Your center, who was playing pretty amazingly, he was doing really good, is now hurt.
Yep.
So you thought you kind of had the 2 guards set up. Now one guard moves to center. You're playing a guard that you thought could be something last year, but he got hurt. Now he's in the game, forced in. The guard that you thought that you were going to need as backup is playing left tackle. That's what you got. You got what you got. So best thing to do is for them to try to figure out what's the best blocking scheme for them from the run game specifically, regardless if Saquon's there or whoever's there, and how to block that up. Pulling is not going to be probably the smartest thing to do, because if they're not mentally there, like I saw again in the game, guys pulling past guys to go get their guy. You never go past the guy. Now, even if you're crossing his face, that's one thing.
Right.
But you don't just run past a guy to get to a guy. So that's got to be a super addressed. Hard to address it when you can't do padded practices.
I know.
Harder to address it when you don't have everybody on board. Now, I don't know how many linemen are left. I think Matt Peart's left.
Matt Peart's left. And by the way, he's been playing with a sore elbow. He's had a brace on it. On the practice squad, they have Jalen Mayfield and they have Jalen Thomas. There's a report by Mike Garafolo of NFL Network today that Justin Pugh may be signed to the practice squad this afternoon.
Okay, so that's all they can do. I mean, you got to bring as many people around as you can find. I mean, DJ Fluker, is he still available out there? Like, I don't even know if he's available.
I think he still is out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, and I mean this, I don't know. There are not enough guys, not enough healthy bodies, and bringing guys in different positions than they, okay, we were looking at Schmitz as a full year he was going to play. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at, well, they'll jockey the guards around maybe, and then the tackles out. Both guards are kind of, one guard now is playing center. Now the other guard that was supposed to be the next guard up is playing tackle. The guy that's the next tackle guard up is playing, but he gets nicked up and hurt. Now the next guard is up. Yeah, that we're not in the best position now with the offensive line. And let me explain to all the fans that want to complain and listen, because I listened to it this morning already. If you can't, like, you have the greatest car in the world, shiny as everything. You got all the bells and whistles, but if your tires are flat, it's not moving. And that, the defense played a really good game. And people are like, they played a good game, 21 points. I'm like, 21 points coming 7 yards after 7-yard touchdown after a fumble, strip sack fumble.
At a pick six.
Yeah.
It's touchdowns.
It's 2 touchdowns. The only other play they gave up was a broken coverage and 2 missed tackles.
Mm-hmm. On a broken play.
Yeah. He completed 13 passes for like 100 yards. Or maybe 110, maybe. That's not it.
I'm glad you brought this up. I was going to get to it later because I do think there was something out of this game to be gained. A couple of things. I'm just going to give you a few of the positives, just because you have to build and start somewhere as you prepare for the for the Dolphins.
The defense is playing better and better every week.
Seattle was 3 of 12 on third down. They had 281 yards of total offense. Those are 2 really good numbers, and I was talking to Sean O'Hara this morning, and he's like, well, if you told me they were going to hold Seattle to both of those stats, you would have felt pretty good. You also held the ball for 36 minutes to only 24 minutes for Seattle. You would have felt pretty good about that too. I thought that Bobby Okereke in particular, I know he had a missed tackle on the broken play with Fant, but the rest of the night, I thought that's the guy that they signed from the Indianapolis Colts in the offseason. It was his best game as a Giant. He had 10 tackles. He was aggressive. He was getting after it. The Giants had few missed tackles in the game, Howard. And I think they had a few. If you want to try to find something to chew on as you move forward into the next game, it would have to be the overall play of the defense. And Okereke in particular, I thought, really picked this game up.
Okereke picked this game up. I think number 19, Simmons picked his game up. I think Thibodeau plays much better when Ojulari's on the field.
Yeah, no question.
And I think because it just brings two quick guys moving to the ball, and you can see the difference. I think also
did it kill you though to see Thibodeau have a chance at that pick six and could not handle the hot potato?
I would think that when I look at things like that, like people are like, well, the Giants don't have any turnovers. The turnovers are luck. Lucky enough for the guys that play defense, so don't handle the ball if they can catch it or secure it. I've seen 3 or 4 drops in the last few weeks, and Thibodeau's was another drop. Thibodeau, if he would go back and try it all over again, he'd probably dive and try to bring it to his chest onto the ground. He looked like he was trying to catch it and run.
Yeah, he wanted the pick six.
He wanted the pick six.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you just want the ball. And that's the difference in the start of the game right there. Yeah. I've heard the argument about why would they run a 4th down play with a tush push? I'm like, because it's 99% effective. Up until this weekend, I think one other team missed it and we missed it. Outside of that, it's been 100% in college and in the pros. I've heard everything, but like I said, we got flat tires. We got to do something to figure out how to get them.
2 players hurt on that play.
Yeah.
Bellinger re-injured his knee, and Schmitz injured his shoulder.
That's right.
On the what they're calling the tush push or the.
Well, what's going to happen is the defense is going to go in. They're going to start to crawl, and they're going to shoot the linebackers over the top. So it's not going to be not effective. It's just going to be how many quarterbacks are they going to be able to take out doing it, and that's what's going to be the new thing.
Before we get to our calls. 201-939-4513. We'll get to you in just a minute. I want to get Howard's take on 2 things very quickly, and then we will go to you.
Yeah.
Number 1, Darren Waller talked after the game and was specifically asked about the fact that he is not getting very many targets and very many opportunities to go downfield. I think you would be very quick to tell us, as he had to do a lot of chipping yesterday. He was kept in an awful lot because the offensive line was having so many problems. And when that happens, it's going to limit his opportunities downfield.
Guys, listen, that's great by Waller explaining that, but really what happened was Bellinger got hurt. Bellinger is the guy who does all that.
Right. So yeah. Waller had to do it.
Yeah, so Waller has to come in and do it now
exactly.
Before he can get downfield. They're just struggling. like I said, if you don't, Seattle they were like 31st in quarterback pressures. We gave up 11 sacks.
11 sacks.
I think more.
But which one was Paris Campbell on that wide receiver option?
More than 11 hits.
14 quarterback hits.
All right, that's 25 hits and runs on top of it. We and I'm saying we because I'm a Giant for life. We have got to go back and try to figure out what is the best way to do it. It's going to be a lot of two-man routes for the next couple of weeks if that's the case. It just is. Mm-hmm. It's going to be two-man routes and guys checking out late to get the ball. That's all that's going to happen. If you can't protect any better than that, that's what's going to happen.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, we know how the fans feel right now this morning.
Yeah.
They're very, very, very upset. Brian Daboll was asked about it after the game, and he said, I don't blame them. They have a right to be.
Mm-hmm.
How, as a player, are you feeling this morning? What are your emotions after now going to 1-3 and having 3 nasty losses and 1 win, which you pulled a rabbit out of a hat?
I think that if I'm a player, I see the positives. I'm on the defensive side of the ball. So, okay, guys, we're doing better. Now we got to get to the point where we can try to shut a team out because that's what it's going to take until our offensive line gets healthy. I'm acknowledging that. If I'm the offense, I'm trying to figure out specifically what I can do better, meaning offensive line. Like the receivers, they're great, they're shiny, but they're not going to get any burn. There's just nothing for them to do. Saquon coming back will be great, but he's not going to get giant bursts because everybody's going to be crowded down if you can't protect the quarterback. They're just like, okay, we'll send 4 guys. Can't get there with 4 guys, we'll send that 5th guy just to see what will happen. And we're going to punch him and punch him and punch him until he gets tired and starts to scramble, and things get worse for him. So for a team, I'm going to figure out, for me personally, I'm going to try to figure it out. But the big thing is, and I do mean this, the big thing is that, hey, look, I knew this year was going to be tough. And I appreciate everybody saying, wow, they went to the playoffs. They're going to be better. This is great. They got all these shiny toys. I was even starting to feel a little optimistic listening to everybody. And I'm being serious. But I knew that this year would be the toughest year with all the teams that they were playing, playoff teams and teams that were very, very much competing going forward. We're not playing the AFC South.
First half of the schedule, not only the teams, but also the way it was configured, very difficult.
All the primetime games.
Difficult.
Like the Giants haven't won a primetime game, and I don't know how long.
You know this, Howard? I mentioned this the other day. You were not here on the program.
Solar power.
Primetime games started in 1970, right? Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. Okay. Since that time, the Giants are over 30 games under 500 on prime time. This goes back to Frank Tarkington now.
We're a solar power team. We like the sunlight.
That's it.
Yeah, Bill Parcells, you say he wants every game at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Correct. Because we are not vampires in East Rutherford. We are not.
But that being said, you have to understand they're putting you in a position to play the toughest teams because you made the playoffs.
Yep.
I think we were a year ahead at least in the process. And they still got to build it up.
201-939-4513. Join us on Sunday, October 8th at HK Kitchen and Draft House in the Bronx to watch the Giants take on the Miami Dolphins. Enjoy Modelo, drink specials, meet a Giants legend, and enter a raffle to win game tickets and more. Visit Giants.com/Barn Network to learn more. I know, Howard Cross, you will not be a legend there because you're going to be with me on the sideline in Miami. 80 degrees, by the way. I don't think you need to bring a rain slicker. I'm hearing it's going to be nice.
Well, man, it rains every 20 minutes there. My daughter's down there. Trust me. I'm trying to think I need to bring my golf shoes or what, because it could be like really nice, and then it's going to pour down, then it's going to be really nice, and it's going to pour down again. The humidity will be like 2,000%.
Okay, before I get to these other spots, little personal announcement here. Howard Cross's son in Notre Dame, Player of the Week by a couple of different, I believe, publications. Howard, I know I mean this because Howard is very dear to us, and so is his family. If you know them, you would know how we feel and why we feel that way. You can be a proud papa now. I public service here. Proud papa, I want you to tell these folks about what your son did this past week.
Listen, he's Senior Bowl, Reese's Senior Bowl player, defensive player of the game. Somebody else player of the game. I think Pro Football Focus listed him as like the top D tackle in college football.
With the Irish, by the way.
With the Irish, okay. I know. With this Notre Dame, the Notre Dame.
No go Tide here on this one.
Whatever. He had 13 tackles. I think something like 10 solos. He had 4 tackles for loss. He forced 2 fumbles, and had the 6 strip sack fumble to ice the game. So to say that he had a good game would be an understatement. Even jokingly, someone came to me and says, "Hey, I was at the game, scouting the game, and let me say something that I've never said. I've never seen a D lineman have double-digit tackles in the third quarter of a game." I'm like, he was having a good game. He's like, that's an understatement.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was cool, and it was very cool to be there.
I was just going to say, and you told me you were going to his next 2 games a couple weeks ago, so you were there.
I was there. I got to see the Ohio State game, which I thought they were going to win. He had a great game in that game, and I got to see this game where he had even a better game. So, yeah.
Did you save the tape? Did you at least record it?
I didn't have a chance to record it.
Oh, no!
But this day and age, they have replays online
there you go.
Constantly, 100% replays. It's really cool.
We need to make sure you have one. All right. The Giants Huddle podcast, by the way, features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, front office staff, past and present, analysts who cover Big Blue. Don't forget to look for the Giants Huddle. Subscribe to your favorite podcast platforms or go to giants.com/podcasts. And if you're an Apple podcast, don't forget to leave a 5-star positive review. It helps with the ratings and allows programs like that to continue. Also, we need to remind you that fandom can be taken to the next level with season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the rest of this season. To learn all about it and the exclusive membership benefits, go to giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. And finally, and this will probably be one of the last times you hear about this, you can run or walk with Giants legends, and we're not talking about Howard and I. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K race and kids run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 8th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants will receive a commemorative T-shirt after the race. Stay for a post-race festival and appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. And, of course, at giants.com/tickets, you can also try to get some seats for the rest of the regular season. 201-939-4513 is our number here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. And, Pearson, I'm looking, and where do I see? It is Joe from Pennsylvania on line 2. You're first up on the program. Hello.
Hello, guys. Congratulations, Howard, on your son taking after the old man.
He's a lot better than I was.
Well, you blocked pretty good there. But,
Howard registered pancakes, not tackles.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, I wish we could put now. What I want to say about last night's game, you could see what Seattle did last night. They put their protection first. They had them tight ends in the backfield. If anybody come through to help block, that's all I want to see for the Giants. If they can't pass block, let the linemen shoot out, get their face masked in the gut, have somebody behind them. Just that Daniel Jones is not running for his life. It's just sickening every time, and if that's what we have to do, get fullbacks back there, get tight ends or offensive linemen, anybody else that can pick up these guys coming through if they miss. When Thomas gets there, maybe you don't have to worry about the left side as much. Just there, and then with the speed we have there. The way the Eagles used to do, they'd always mass protect and send Sean Johnson on a fly right now and then and just air it out.
Sean Jackson, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jackson. So we could do that, but all I want to do is pass block first. We have a field goal kicker that can kick the ball, and our defense shows that they're getting their act together. And we're not going to outscore Miami or Buffalo coming up. And this is what we have to do, dink and duck. And if we get Barkley back, who's ever back there? If they break through the line, You know what I mean? Maybe they get a nice run or so. I said the ball hasn't bounced our way this year at all.
Nope.
I mean, bouncing off Barkley, who else was it? Twice in that. But there hasn't been. I was praying for a fumble or this or that, and you can't blame Daniel. But we just got to give him time, and that's the first thing. I like the way Seattle Max protected there. Regardless, they didn't have to take no chances, because we made the mistakes, and like you said, they scored, and that was it. They controlled the game from there on in, and that's how we have to play. And put somebody behind the offensive line and let them shoot out if they can't pass block, just to get their face mask in their gut. Maybe they can stop them for a second or so, and that's the way we can play. That's all I can see, so that's all I want to say, But if not, then it's on our coach if they don't do it. Last year, I think they were doing more mass protect. This year, I think they're a little more trying to open it up, and we just, especially the way the offensive line is now, it's in shambles. So that's all. That's enough. But that's
thank you, Joe.
Thank you. So,
Be well.
Joe's saying, echoing what I just said. I'm like, you're going to have to bring more people in to try to do it. They started to bring in, I think, Matt Pert as an extra tight end. Yeah. I think that the benefit of that is going to be you're going to have to run the ball. You have to run the ball with the extra tight end and with the extra lineman in, and start pressuring them up the field, and then trying to develop some play action off of those plays. That's going to be the way that they're going to have to, find a way to, get some action. And the funny thing is that Bellinger has kind of, not Bellinger, but they kept Cager to kind of mask the thing to be more like Waller, so they'd have
right.
But they don't have a backup for Bellinger.
No. Well, Tommy Sweeney had the non-football injury situation in training camp. He was going to be the blocking tight end who was going to be on the practice squad.
And he's not there.
He's not there.
So there are going to be guys walking around, getting out of that black van to come in and have workouts pretty soon. It's just the personnel, like a band, it's so different from talking about, wow, we got so many players and they're competing in their position and this is going to be great, to we have no more offensive linemen. We need another tight end in here. In 4 weeks, we went from our cupboards were full to the cupboards are looking a little bare around some very important positions on the field.
201-939-4513. We go to line one. Donnie from Queens. You're next on the program. Hello.
Hey, guys. Kyle,
Hi.
congratulations to you and your son. I'm a Notre Dame fan myself. So,
Oh, thank you.
That thrilling win the other night. So having some success somewhere in the football world.
There we go.
You guys mentioned earlier that, the season was going to be tough with the schedule. And I think certainly, in hindsight, that's something we probably should have seen ahead. But I think it's a little more about the way it's looked, where it's really just been non-competitive football outside of that second half in Arizona. Like, really all phases are not playing well. And I know, Paul, I spoke to you and John multiple times. How many times did I talk about Eric Gray returning punts, just not not capable of doing the job back there. He's always looked uncomfortable. So it's just really been everything from coaching to the players to the roster construction, even like you guys were just mentioning, not having a backup tight end that can block on the team. A lot of miscalculations were made. So at this point, there's two types of bad seasons you can have. You can have a bad season where you win 3 or 4 games and your stadium is empty and people lose their jobs, or you can have a 6-7 win season that you didn't get out of the gate so hot, but you salvage things and the team and players improve as the season goes on. So there's a lot to keep an eye on here. The playoffs are probably a long shot, but in terms of the overall direction of the franchise, I think it's very important that these guys stick together. They don't start pointing fingers. Guys don't go in the tank. Those hamstring injuries don't start popping out because guys are making business decisions. And that's just kind of where I'm at now. Unfortunately, I've got season tickets here, so I got a lot of games to go to, and I hope to see some fight out of this group. And last thing before I go, I thought Brian Dable really handled himself poorly last night. frankly, if I were Daniel Jones, I would have told him to shove it, because the offensive line and the coaching that he put around him last night was a little unfair to kind of single him out and show him up coming off the sideline. So just my opinion. Again, Howard, congratulations to you and your son, and I'll be talking to you guys in the next couple of weeks. Thanks.
All right, so he's referring to the thank you again for my son and everything. That's awesome. He's referring to the what's it called, the tablet flip.
The tablet, yes.
And he's referring to that because you drive the ball down the field, and I know that Daniel's taking a beating, and he's taking a beating, but there was a player open in the back of the end zone. He just didn't hit him. Mm-hmm. He threw the ball on the whip route, and I think that they weren't on the same page. Paris broke in. Daniel threw it to his back shoulder instead of his front shoulder, and Paris was he was anticipating them turning right there on the line of scrimmage back, and Campbell was like, "Oh, there's an open space. Let me make my move to the open space," and that's just a timing thing. And Daniel is releasing it and anticipating them to go what he thought that they were practice every day in practice. So it's one of those things. You got to hold it account longer. And a guy who's gotten hit that many times doesn't feel like he has another count. So that's where that came from.
That's the accumulation of what had happened earlier in the night. And Waller was in the back of the end zone, and you could second guess it all you want, but unless you're in Daniel's shoes at that moment, when he thinks his clock is up, you just don't know how you would react.
Yeah, you speed up, and you have to speed up. You got to get the ball out of your hands faster and faster. When they're getting to you in your second step, you got to figure it out. Like, you got to figure out a way to get it. In the end, the last interception in the game was him trying his best to get the ball down the field, regardless, even though he knows he's going to get hit. So it's just one of those things.
That's desperation. You're just trying to do something, get the ball out because you want something to happen.
Yeah. So I
don't fault him for that one.
I don't fault.
It was a tough night for him.
It was tough for everybody. I fault everybody. And I don't think he was showing Daniel up. He was just like, man, oh my God, what are we doing here? And it's part of it. And to be fair, I know it's a new world, and we're more sensitive to how everybody feels.
Oh, we're very sensitive.
I can remember many days coming off the field and hearing the coach saying choice words to the quarterback, and no one cared.
If we called up Phil Simms right now, he would be talking for days on end without taking a breath about how many times Bill Parcells told him to do blippity bleep 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 bleep.
Yep. Just don't throw it to the other team. What are you doing? Or
come on, Phil.
Don't catch them before they fall. It was like all kinds of crazy stuff.
201-939-4513. We go to Jonathan from Westchester. You're next on the program. Hello.
Hey, how are you guys?
Very good.
How are you, sir?
Wanted to echo what everyone's saying. Howard, congratulations on your son. Very well-deserved honors.
I do appreciate that. Paul, you shouldn't have told people that. It's like, but thank you very much.
Well, we love you, Howard.
I appreciate it.
Come on. We root for all the crosses.
So you guys were talking a few minutes ago about the offensive line and the tight end position. Wanted to contrast, our current situation to last year's. So last year when Bellinger hurt his eye, we had Chris Myrick and Tanner Hudson and Burnett. I think Myrick played in 16 games, and he did a serviceable job, right? So, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, didn't Myrick break his hand before the start of the season?
I believe so. Yeah.
He did. So he's out for the year then, right? He's on season-ending IR.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if there's anyone out there, who we can turn to. And also, if you had any update on the severity of Bellinger's injury. I know it's not too long after the end of the game last night, but I was interested. If you had any
Coach was on the Zoom call earlier today with the media and said all the injured players were getting further tests today, had nothing more. I do believe that they are somewhat optimistic that Bellinger's is not very serious, but we'll have to see.
Well, that's all you can do. It's kind of hope at this point with the way these guys came out of the game. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Anything else?
All right. Well, no, that's it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it both.
All right. 201-939-4513. I'm just looking up the potential street free agents at the tight end spot, Howard. I mean, at this point, it's going to be tough.
The team's always evolving. You're always hoping that someone's out there, and basically what they're doing now is they're scouring these guys' practice squads to see who's out there on the practice squad if they can pick somebody up. So that's basically what they're doing.
Well, that's about all you can do at the moment, because at least those guys have been active practicing and they're in shape and so forth. Guys who you pick up off the street, you have no idea when you bring them in exactly what kind of conditioning they're in.
Yeah, that's true.
So 201-939-4513, and we go next to DJ in Virginia. You're next on the show. Hello. Hi, DJ.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Very good.
All right. So I'll be brief. I know a lot of people probably want to call in and voice their frustrations. I'm just curious exactly what does this team do well? Like, they're horrible on special teams. The offense seems to have trouble. They're horrible at tackling. They can't seem to block anybody. We're having problems with ball security. We can't score in the first half of games. The run defense is horrible. Like, what exactly do they do well?
I think the defense is starting to play better, and I think that's one thing that they can start to hang their hat on. They're starting to get stops. Seattle really didn't do anything last night. They got most of their opportunities off the turnovers from the offense, and that put the defense on short fields twice. So they didn't, and the Giants possessed the ball a lot more than Seattle. They had more yards than Seattle. They just had the 2 turnovers that really put them behind the 8 ball.
Okay.
Is that all?
And no, my other 2 questions real quick. I'm curious on you guys' opinion. Do you feel like the Giants might be making a similar mistake to what Dave Gettleman made as far as thinking we could win while we try to rebuild? Or is it like one of those things where they should have, stripped it down to the foundation and kind of, started with the guts of it? And then my other real question, real quick, and I'll take it off the air, is was that pick 6 in the goal line, was that on DJ or was that on the wide receiver? Like, did he run the wrong route? Because it seemed like they had 2 guys running the same whip route.
There were 2 receivers right in the same vicinity of the ball, and then there was Waller behind the 2 receivers near the back of the end zone.
So I don't really know because I don't know all the plays. I just know that getting the ball out that early, trying to get to the guy quickly when it's into a crowded area, just didn't work out for him. And even though Waller was in the back of the end zone, it would have been a great throw and catch because he had to throw over the 2 receivers and the 3 defenders.
He needed a lollipop throw.
Yeah, to get everything in place. So don't know how to fix that other than they had a great drive, had a horrible outcome, but a great drive. And as far as tear it down and trying to win during a rebuild, I don't think any team I don't think any NFL player will consider any season a rebuild season. I think fans do. I think sometimes GMs do, and maybe even owners might. But the players themselves don't consider seasons rebuild. And the reason why they don't is because when you rebuild, that means they're taking you out and you're losing your job. So players don't look at it as rebuilds. As far as everything else goes, though, I think they did an incredible job last year, and I think that as for doing a great job last year and getting all the accolades and pats on the back, I think people lost sight of that was the start of the rebuild. They had to get rid of a ton of players, and they still need players, and they know they need players, even though they got a lot of great, skilled position guys on the outside. They're going to need more linemen, and that's what they're going to pick up, over the next year or so.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Love the show.
No problem.
Okay. Giants have a couple of tight ends on their practice squad, just FYI, unless they do want to go outside. There's Tyree Jackson, the former quarterback from the University of Buffalo, who's 6'7", and I believe, was he 250 pounds? They picked him up for the practice squad off Philly. They converted him to tight end earlier in training camp. And Ryan Jones, of course, out of East Carolina, who was here during the preseason and had played some snaps. Those are the 2 tight ends on the practice squad.
How big is Ryan Jones?
Jones is 6'3", 247.
Okay, so they're both receivers.
Well, yeah, you watched them.
Yeah, they're both.
You watched them.
They're both basically receivers.
Now, there is a name out on the street who I remember was here for a short time who was a blocking tight end. That would be Eric Tomlinson.
Okay.
You remember when he was here?
Yeah, I remember him being here. Yeah.
Most recently with Houston.
Okay.
He's a street free agent right now, and he certainly was a big framed guy who blocks.
So it just depends on what happens with Bellinger going forward. If he can make it and get healthy if it's like promising he's not going to be out a long time, then they'll do it. But if you had to choose between getting a tight end in or getting an offensive lineman in, you're probably going to get an offensive lineman in.
I would think so.
And you're probably going to get a couple. So it's going to be interesting to see.
All right, back to the phones. We have Ethan from North Carolina. You're next on the program. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Very good.
Good to hear. Hey, first-time caller, listen to the podcast, usually the day after. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I've been listening all season. Really enjoy the show. Love it. But I had to call. I know everybody wants to voice their frustration. I'm going to voice my love. That's for Daniel Jones. Man, watching the game last night, I just simply feel bad for him. But, to be honest, I'm a father of 3. Mm-hmm. My oldest is 7. He plays all sports. And, of course we want our kids to be gifted athletically, but, just like Eli Manning, who was like my idol growing up, mm-hmm. My son loves Daniel Jones, the demeanor, the way how after last night he just put everything on himself. That's just humility, great character. Mm-hmm. I just absolutely love him. But besides that,
that's the way Eli was, by the way, too.
Absolutely, and exactly why he was my idol. So it's running in our family, which I love. Mm-hmm. Just one of the things that I just don't understand is, it's very obvious, right, the O-line situation. But when we played against the Niners, and even when you watch Philadelphia, some of these teams that run these, last night we had Paris Campbell. He'd come in motion, he'd whip back around, go back to the side he was from, and we're doing these dump passes to the flats and just getting eat up on it. And we all saw how the Niners and the Eagles and these other teams do it, but they have athletic and quick O-line. And one, we don't have that, but two, our line was tired, exhausted, and just beat up. And I saw that play multiple times last night. And really the last thing, just to add, because you talked about the whip route and, what could have been done better on that play. We know Daniel Jones didn't have any time, so I don't know why we're choosing to run routes in crowded spaces where they have to make multiple moves.
Well, when you're at the goal line, and,
not a lot of choice.
You don't have a lot of choices. It's like you got to beat them right off the out of the break, right off the line of scrimmage to get open, or at the very top of the route. And the whip route within 4 or 5 yards doesn't take that long. That's the quickest thing you can get out. He doesn't have a chance to go from left or right in his read, so it's got to be one guy has to be the guy, and the quarterback and that guy have to be exactly on the same page.
Yeah, fair. Absolutely. Last thing I want to say, just the thing that really bothers me, it's really not the way we played or the score. That's frustrating. We don't like to see that. The thing that really gets under my skin is Thibodeau and Cam Brown, I believe, when he pushed that guy, didn't get a flag for it, totally should have. They're smiling after these plays, knowing – that's a locker room thing. I don't know what needs to change there, but, man, it bothers me when I see people celebrating when we're down that bad. So, anyways, thanks, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
I don't know about the celebration part of it. I didn't really see it.
I didn't see it either.
But, I think guys are trying to be energetic when they're playing and keep themselves up. I don't think that's, meant to be a team thing. They get up, they celebrate, they're shaking and dancing sometimes, but they're just trying to get back. And as long as they get back in the huddle and do it again, I don't really care. I hope they all celebrate, but then keep making plays. As far as the pushing and shoving, it got a little chippy in the game. It did, and it was more because, teams are looking at the Giants as, okay, we can beat them up and intimidate them. There was a thing going around Twitter and whatever where the Cowboys were saying we are going to make them quit kind of moment, and teams listen to that and they're like, okay, let's try to make them quit and see if it really works. So the chippiness and all that stuff comes from that night of that and that video and that circulated.
201-939-4513. Wilson from Roxbury, you're on line 3 on BBKL. Hello.
Hey, Paulie. Hey, Howard.
Hey.
Howard, I got a couple of things, but I love you. But do me a favor, don't get upset at me. I don't want to hear any more excuses, man, about the offensive line. Seattle have 4 stringers playing too, and they look competent. They look competent. And let me look competent.
Before you go on, let me help you out.
Okay.
When you watch the preseason,
don't hang up on me, though.
I'm not going to hang up on you. I want you to make an acknowledgement for me. And if you can't do that, I'm going to listen to you, and you can say whatever you want.
No,
just listen. when you watched the preseason, what did you see from those guys? Those are the same. So those are the guys that were playing in preseason. Not the starter.
I said. Listen. You can go back. When they played the first preseason game against the Lions, I called up and I said, you know what I saw? I saw that the second, third, and fourth stringers of the Lions are much better than the Giants. I said that because I saw it.
Okay, so now you saw it. Then it hasn't changed. Now go ahead with your statement.
Okay, Howard. Okay, but listen to me. And poor Daniel. I mean, you can put Joe Montana back there. No quarterback can function.
That's right.
Okay,
we're in agreement.
You know what? What I'm gonna say to you, it is crazy for Giants fans like myself that we back here again. For me to actually say this to you, the Giants look like the worst coach team in the NFL by a mile. By a mile, Howard. You had 11 games to prepare, and you put that on the field. It's an embarrassment. Come on, man. I mean,
if guys are turning guys loose, what are you going to do? If you're a coach, what can you tell me? I need help because I'll go in there and I'll say it. I'll tell them personally. If guys are flat out turning guys loose, what do you want me to tell? What do you want me to tell the guys?
Howard, but you got to make some adjustments. You supposedly are the coach of the year. What are you doing? I don't know. I don't get paid $1 million to be a head coach.
But that's what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is they coached them up. They got them. Everybody's knows what to do. If they're not able to do it, execution is what happens.
Howard, listen real quick. I told Paulie this last week, and Paulie remembers because I apologized to him. I said the Giants are on a really, really bad path. If the whole NFL thinks that they're the softest teams in the NFL. You just said it. Everybody thinks that the Giants are the softest team in the NFL. They get punched in the mouth, and this is what happens. And unfortunately, it keeps happening on prime time. So I don't know.
It won't be happening on prime time anymore this year. Trust me.
Well, okay, so that's a silver lining. But I just cannot believe. But listen, humor me for a minute. You know, like last year, right? We made the playoffs, right? I know that you said, well, you know, don't look because year to year things change and the schedule is harder, and no, I understand that. But unfortunately, fans cannot think that, Howard. We won a playoff game last year. We were looking forward to a better season. That is just a fan being a fan. And when you see this, I mean, you cannot tell me that the Giants are well coached.
Yeah, fan is short for fanatic. I got it, and I understand. And yes, they are well coached. They have one of the best coaches you'll see. If you don't have the players to get it done, and especially, like I said, all shiny toys before flat tires, when you have those flat tires, man, it is hard to play. And the defense had a good game, had a really good game.
The defense, I think. The defense held it together. It could have been much worse.
Yeah, but the defense played a really good game. I mean, the time of possession, they stopped them. They did everything they were supposed to do. But when guys are coming through, think about the strip sack fumble.
Yes.
Daniel takes 2 steps.
Yep.
He tries to avoid one guy, spins, and before he can turn around and get his ball up to his other hand, it's over. It was over. Yeah, and it wasn't a soft hit. It was a crushing.
No, the guy went for the ball.
No, I ain't talking about the guy going for the ball. Forget the fumble. He crushed him. I'm talking about his head hit the ground. It's ugly. So, now he gets back up. He's going to go through it again. He's thinking, well, maybe I'll have some more time next time. He gets sacked 6 more times before he has the turnover. You keep telling me in this conversation that, oh, well, they can coach them better. If guys are running by, running over, running through,
right?
It is hard.
All I'm saying is, Howard, listen. You had 11 games, 11 days to prepare, right?
You can yell.
This guy is no good.
And
Wilson, we're going to have to let you go.
We're going to let him go. But my question is this: where are they going to get guys? They're not guys walking in off the street. The only thing you can do is say, okay. And you don't want to go back to the days where you're like, you give up like Joe Judge did, and, we're going to run quarterback sneak just to get the punter some room. We're not doing that. The guys are going to have to figure out how to do it. How do you scheme it up? There are going to be some more moments where the Waller, the great free agent we brought in to catch passes, he's going to be chipping. He might be chipping from the backfield. And you're laughing.
No,
but until the 5 starters were decent, middle-of-the-road guys, if they're all together.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't had
that was the idea.
But that's part of it, but it doesn't work that way.
No.
So, and they're constant. You're seeing guys come in here every day now, and the team's not going to be set for a long time because they got to find ways to do it. They're not going to stand by and let this just happen. But in the meantime, how do I keep that quarterback healthy? Because that many hits, and I mean hard hits. I mean, he's spinning away from a guy to get away from a guy, and another guy's hitting him in the face. That should have been a fumble.
I remember I mentioned this on the radio postgame last night. Back in 1980, Phil Simms' second year, he got sacked 10 times by the Niners in one game. And that was actually matched last night for Daniel because one of the sacks went to Paris Campbell. No, one sack went to Paris Campbell. They gave Paris Campbell credit for a sack on what was a wide receiver option. That's what they called it. So the 11th sack, or one of the sacks, it wasn't the 11th one in the game, but one of the 11 sacks was on Paris Campbell, not charged against Jones.
It was going to be a wide receiver pass. I saw that,
Yeah, so 10 sacks. Phil took 10 in the game, and Daniel tied that record by taking 10 in a game last night. Just so you know.
I get tickled you guys saying Daniel is taking sacks. No, Daniel's getting sacks.
No, getting sacks. Yes. Enduring sacks.
Man,
how's that for a good
I don't know if he's enduring them, but I'm just hoping that like I said, my whole concern is they got to find a way to make it safe for him. I mean, I know that they're going to struggle. There are going to be some issues here and there, but you got to find a way to try to make it safe for him.
Mike in Queens, you're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Good.
I'm gonna start with some good points.
Mm-hmm.
I like what I've seen from Thibodeau. He's finally showing some flashes. I like that. I really like Wandell. I feel like we may have something there. And other than that, that's all the good points that I got. Now. But the bad points, I mean, I seen one play where Neal looked like he pushed Waller.
Yeah, because Waller isn't used to chipping.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I didn't know what was going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
But and other than the O-line, we know that's real bad. We need help with that. I know, like you said, we can't find no guys off the street. I don't know. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something because if we keep going at this rate,
you got tough games coming up. I mean, the positive about Miami is that they have an incredible offense. Their defense gets to play, with teams so far behind they can just pin their ears back. We're hoping that that's not going to be the case because the defense is going to play better against them. Like the blueprint's kind of out on Miami now. Like you got to jam those receivers and get to Tua. That's kind of the blueprint. I think that Wink can figure out a way to do that. But the next week, Buffalo, that defense is real good because they were the ones that put the blueprint out on Miami. So if the line doesn't get better in the next 2 weeks, it's just going to be rough.
Yeah, and the last thing I got, I know, Paul, you said you gave us hope. I know you believe in Daniel. I've never been a Daniel guy, and I know you said the numbers could be skewed because a lot of tip passes and all that stuff, but it's real hard to root for somebody that's not showing you anything. And I know the line is not holding up.
If you put a cape on Daniel and let him fly around, he would still get sacked.
Oh my!
That's how bad. That's how bad that line's playing. I don't blame nothing on that kid. Yeah, and 10 or 11 hits, it ain't getting better.
I understand, but sometimes you got to stand in the pocket and just take the shot. You're going to get hit anyway.
Okay, so
get hit,
let's do this again so I can help you out, because I keep telling people this and they keep saying that. 1, 2, I am spinning away from a guy. Before my third foot step touches the ground, I'm spinning to avoid a guy. The third step hits the ground because I've spun, and now I'm getting hit before I can change direction or anything. One time I got hit in the back. One time I got hit in the side. One time I got hit in the face. You're telling me that he's got to get rid of the ball quicker. There is no quicker routes. There's no quicker events. The only way they can do it, and this is the truth, is they put 2 guys in the backfield behind the guards, put the quarterback put the quarterback in shotgun the entire time. It eliminates a ton of plays, because now you only have maybe 1 receiver routes, at best 2 receiver routes, and it clouds up the blocking for the running back out of the backfield. You will be like, that's going to be like, hey, we're going to do this, Hyatt, go. That's all it's going to be. And you can't run an offense that way.
Yeah, I was going to say run split backs. Mm-hmm. But my last question is, why do you think they put Tyrod in the game so late with just 1 minute? I mean, if I seen with the Patriots, they pulled Mac Jones because it wasn't going well, and they let Zappy do it.
They really thought they still had a chance until like late in the game, but it just wasn't working.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thanks for the call. I will say this. All right, it was not a great game for Daniel Jones. He did not play well, but as Howard said, there were a lot of circumstances involved. I will say there's one thing, though, that I know offensive coordinators, head coaches, and quarterback coaches would say to Daniel about the strip sack. After he avoided the first player, he only had one hand on the ball.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I know what he was thinking. He was thinking, I've just avoided one guy. I'm going to try to make a play. I'm going to try to get around on the run and see if I can get rid of it. I will tell you, Howard, and it's okay. It's okay.
I can explain to you why it is. Do you really want to know why it is?
Go ahead. I'm going to tell you, though, that I know coaches who will say he's got to get a second hand on that ball so that it doesn't come free.
So this is how this works.
You can tell me what he's thinking. That's okay.
It has nothing to do with thinking.
Go ahead.
You have to think about this.
Go ahead.
So it'll make sense to you when you think about it.
Go ahead.
How fast did he spin?
Oh, I know.
No, seriously, how fast did he spin? Tell me what he looked like when he spun. He had to use his offhand to get him off to spin around. Mm-hmm. As he's spinning and trying to touch, he takes a step, his hand is doing this, and the other guy hits him. What would you like him to do? Because there's a centrifugal force of you spinning and you trying to come back. I
get it.
Okay, so
I get it.
Take the sack.
Coaches, that's what a number of coaches will tell you.
Take the sack from the first guy.
They will say either take the sack from the first guy or when you get away from him, just tuck that ball and be willing to go down. Eli took many sacks because people said he went down too soon and too early. But what Eli was doing was protecting the ball and protecting his body so that he wouldn't get bent in bad ways. Sometimes that's actually the better play.
First quarter of the game, he spins away from the guy, and before he can even get to self.
I'm simply telling you there are alternative instructions that would be given in a situation like that.
Take the hit in the face.
Anyway.
Okay.
201-939-4513 is the phone number. Are we done here, Pearson? Or we got another minute or no? We can squeeze in one more. David from Michigan, you've been on hold. I'm glad we did get to you. Go ahead.
David,
Pearson's running the clock, so I'm glad we were able to do it.
David, he's telling him to take a hit in the face. Take the hit in the face and go down. You'll be fine. I'm like, what?
Listen, I'm gonna go fast. Full disclosure. Watch the game. See the guy romp into the end zone when everybody thought he was down except the runner, and the refs didn't blow the whistle. I turned the game off because I knew that this team is incapable of coming back from a discombobulated play that goes against them. The other thing I want to quickly mention is on the 4th and 1 when they went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Howard, I know you and Paul are on the sideline. I'm watching it on TV, and there was an overhead camera shot, which I don't know if you saw. As an old offensive lineman, I looked at that overhead camera shot, and I said, there is no way that they are going to get this, because they have an average to subpar offensive line trying to go against one of the best defensive fronts, and they put Lemieux and Parrott, was it? But behind the offensive line in front of Daniel. And so what I said is, he's going to run into a pile of his own guys. I'm sorry, man. I cannot see the logic of putting those 2 extra offensive linemen behind the O-line and in front of Daniel.
They're not in front of Daniel. The alignment is I think you can't touch the lineman or something with your head in the backfield. So the way they're doing it, they're getting as close as possible. They're submarining, and the 2 guys on each side of Daniel are pushing. The last guy comes in and tries to push Daniel over. Now, the way some teams are doing it is they're putting their hand on the back of the quarterback, and when the ball is snapped, they're all pushing and trying to give him a little bit of a shield for the guy who's jumping over the top. It's a very unique play. Yeah. But up until last night, that's only the second time it hasn't worked this year in the NFL. It also works a lot in college. I think college is trying to ban it.
I got to say, I looked at that overhead shot, and I just thought, well, I was right. I said he wasn't getting in.
Yeah.
But then one more thing on the offensive line, because, this is like, 12 years, 3 GMs, 12 drafts, and free agent seasons, and we cannot get the offensive line right. It is a disgrace. And second, and the other thing is, I have to wonder, are these guys just not the athletes that we think they are? Because either they have a bunch of duds, except for Thomas, or Bobby Johnson is not the guy to coach them. Because this is awful. It's unwatchable.
Well, as they get more and more guys in, they got Schmitz. And Schmitz, thank you very much for your call. Schmitz has done a great job. Got a little banged up in that one play with the tush push. You got Thomas that's going to be a Pro Bowler for a while. Neal is playing average at best, but he's gotten better from the first game to this game. I'm just going to tell you, it is a very hard thing to do. And it's just to get that many guys. Some teams have it, but for the most part of the league, when you're watching offenses, most offensive lines don't exist. Joe Burrow would tell you that. Sometimes Pittsburgh Steelers, as great as they are, they don't have a real good offensive line right now. A lot of teams around the league, and I mean a lot of teams getting a lot of quarterback hits and, just hoping. So everybody's trying to build it. The reason why, because you're a former offensive lineman that can help you with this, the reason why it's the hardest thing to do, because they're not able to practice anymore and get any reps at it. So, and I'm looking at the play with Paul as we speak.
All right, now what you have, it's basically it's a scrunched wing tee with Lemieux to Jones's left hip, Glowinski to Jones's right hip. Those are your 2 fullbacks, and Breida is the tailback. All right. Now, Howard, I'm going to run it for you, and this is the overhead view.
Yeah.
So you can describe what you see if you want to go through it with Dave. I'm going to let it run.
The 2 guys that are behind him, the problem with this play is, and what's happening is that the guy who has his hand on Daniel's butt is going to lift him in the air, and when Daniel's feet are off the ground, he's just being manhandled by both sides. So basically, it's up to Glowinski to carry him across the line.
The interesting part about it is Glowinski was the only one of the 3 who actually got contact
with Daniel's butt.
Yeah. When we see that play usually run, all two or all three of those guys have contact with the quarterback, and they're all crashing into him. In this case, it didn't look like Lemieux or Breida even got contact with Jones.
So the other thing is that as you're looking at that play, Daniel takes a snap, and he just kind of dives over the top. The only space for him to go is right to his right over the guard because there's a little space over the guard. But you got to be willing to take that hit that's about to come at you because they're leaving that space for that guy to jump through that space to hit you.
Right.
So it's a hard play.
That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. As always, you can catch an archive of this show on your favorite podcast networks or at giants.com/podcasts. Write down the number 201-939-4513. We are live every weekday from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For Howard Cross and I'm Paul Dottino, that will do it for this edition, and we will see you again next time.